Penn State and Ohio State, the Big Ten matchup of the weekend. Big noon kickoff will be there. I love games in the Big Ten at 12 o'clock. We're going to get one, or 11 o'clock, whatever it is. If you're Central Time, it's a just absolutely fantastic matchup in the Big Ten. Joe, I told you earlier I'm not picking any one of these teams until Wednesday until we make our picks.
Mm-hmm.
But let's look at this game. You know what's interesting? I'm going to read off two quarterbacks for you, and I want you to tell me who's been more efficient. You ready?
One of them, Sam Hartman.
No.
Oh.
It's a reference to this game.
Okay.
One is 65% completion percentage, 1,254 yards and 12 touchdowns, no picks. One has 64% completion percentage, 1,651 yards, 11 touchdowns, and one pick.
How many picks did the first one have?
0.
The first one's Allard, the second one's McCord.
But you wouldn't tell if you just did a blind comparison of the both of them. Both of them have looked pretty similar. And you know what else? Allard has been the one that is getting all of the pub, but he has been in some games where he's been taken out late. McCord, unfortunately, but I guess you could say he split time, but nevertheless, we will see. Joe, this game is very simple to me when I break it down. Defense, defense, defense for both of them. Both of them want to establish the running game very effectively. Both of them have two really good defenses. Penn State is the number one team in the country in total defense, while Ohio State is 7th in the country in total defense. But here's the thing for me, though. Did you know that Penn State was the number one team in the country and number 2 team in pass and rush defense? They are just smothering teams. Ohio State, 22-4. I think this is one of the most evenly matchup games that you can have. But did you see Ryan Day last weekend getting Devin Brown the ball in the red zone to run? A wrinkle that I believe that he was saying, hey, Penn State, you're going to have to game plan for this. I don't know if he even comes into the game. Maybe he does. Maybe they let him throw a pass. Who knows? I don't know where to lean on this one, Joe, because I think both offenses have some question marks. But I do think Ohio State overall is more talented or has more talent than Penn State. I just don't know if they're the better team at the current moment.
Well, Elks, this one is for you. And Blake, I'll help you figure out where that lean should go. I thought this through, and I'm not going to overcomplicate it at all.
Okay.
I completely agree with you. I think that Penn State has a ton of defensive talent. They're well coached. They have been smothering everybody that they've played, but they have not faced an offense with an ounce of a pulse. So I think that those numbers are a little bit inflated.
I know that Ohio State beat Notre Dame, but neither does Notre Dame. So how Ohio State had neither.
Okay, fair. But the last time that Ohio State played against a team that has an elite defense, elite, well-coached defense, a talented quarterback, a good run game, a good offensive line, good tight ends, but has no talent at wide receiver. What happened the last time Ohio State played that type of a team?
Well,
it was Notre Dame.
3. So I'm with you on that. Okay. I can see the similar thought process on that. And I think that's a good pull by you, but Notre Dame's offense isn't as good as Penn State's all around.
I look, here's where
Joe.
Wait. Here is where and I think this is maybe where we disagree. There really is not much of a significant difference. Yes, Penn State's offense is better and has statistically been better than Notre Dame's, but up until Notre Dame actually faced some good, strong defensive opponents, they were putting up some defensive or some decent offensive outputs. They were scoring some points against NC State and Central Michigan. They looked fine. I was out here yelling about how I thought that they were going to be great against Ohio State, and then everything came crashing down. I have watched an annoying amount of Penn State film, broke it down. Outside of Lambert Smith, they do not have anybody. They don't have anybody. They got guys dropping balls. They got guys not creating separation. All of their offensive passing production, which is pretty minimal. It's not like they've put up any games with good numbers, has come from their running backs and their tight ends. They don't have any receivers. And that's where I think that this is going to cause them problems, because we saw Ohio State figure out how to scheme against a team that doesn't have any receivers, and they shut down Notre Dame. I think the same thing could possibly happen this Saturday.
Very plausible. I can't come out here and deny what you're saying. I can't argue against what you're saying. Do you think that Penn State is going to be a little bit more successful at running the football? I do think that Ohio State, when they face Maryland as an example, that offense with Tua's younger brother, they can throw the ball around a little bit with Loxley. It's what they want to do. Mm-hmm. They gave up some yards. Yeah. I can't disagree with you on that part, where I just feel like Penn State is more look, if I say this, I'm going to get killed.
What else is new? We get killed for everything that we say.
But I just don't know if Notre Dame's offensive line is better than Penn State's. I don't know that, because I think here's how I evaluate offensive line play, okay? Mm-hmm. If you got a chink in the armor, then you're not gonna look good. I've seen Notre Dame get pushed around by other people besides Ohio State. I've seen it, and not only just the Power 5 teams that they played. Yeah, there were times that they got. I mean, go all the way back to when Notre Dame played. Who was it early in the year? It was before Ohio State. Who did Notre Dame play?
NC State.
It was NC State, and you remember. Mm-hmm. Like early in that game or late or midway, maybe third quarter in that game, NC State started coming back a little bit. Well, they started making stops, and they kind of got pushed around at times against an inferior opponent. But I feel like a dumbass saying that, because Notre Dame's got Joe Alt, and they got dudes. But I've seen Joe Alt get pushed around by North Carolina State in the run game. I just think that there's something to be said about, can Penn State do some things maybe in Notre Dame can't. And I don't – your premise and thought is why I don't want to pick it. But I'm going to throw something at you that you're probably not going to agree with. If Penn State wins this game, I think it's because Drew Aller, or Aller, however you say his last name, he's just a better quarterback than Sam Hartman was. And I think he can process better. He's got a bigger arm.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. That's not a hot take.
Drew might be a better quarterback than Hartman is. So those are the two ropes that I'm not going to do that.
I just took a hit second. By the way, did you see somebody commented that they lost they started laughing their ass off when they saw my face as I processed you saying "cum stain" on the live show?
Yeah, I did. So listen, last night I get out the show and my wife and my sister-in-law here, and they're like, "Did you just call Texas A&M a cum stain?" I was like, "Unfortunately, yes." But you know what I'm saying though about the quarterback comparison. Is Sam Hartman going to be number 2 in that quarterback comparison? Because I think he would be.
I don't disagree in what you're saying. Drew Aller is more physically gifted than Sam Hartman is as a quarterback. Sam Hartman is much more experienced, and you see those experience differences show up on film. But having watched them play against Iowa, having watched them play against Illinois, 2 teams with good defenses that aren't up to par with Ohio State's, but aren't really that far off. I have watched Drew Aller make some really nice plays, keep the offense moving, keep the run game involved by him being in an extension of it, finding his tight ends, finding Katron Allen and Nick Singleton as receivers. But what is stalling drives for them is not being able to consistently connect with receivers. And if those guys can't create separation against Illinois and Iowa, I am very worried about what's going to happen against a more cohesive, well-rounded defensive unit.
Iowa's a good defense.
They are. And Cooper DeJean is going to be highly drafted, a very talented cornerback for Iowa. But as a unit across the board, Ohio State is the best defense that they have faced all year. And I'm very worried that if he can't find any of his receivers, what is going to happen? Because when Notre Dame played him, they were able to move the ball a little bit, but not enough for them to put up the points necessary to actually win that football game.
They still ran for 215 yards against Iowa, though. Like, and we're talking,
but that's not happening against this Ohio State defensive front. That's the thing.
I don't disagree that they're not going to run for 200 yards, but the way that you just compared that, at least let me tell you what I'm hearing. Maybe you're not saying this, but this is what I'm hearing. Oh, well, Iowa sucks defensively. The bullshit they do.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I know I'm kind of phrasing it like that, but I'm saying that
here's the thing with Allard that would worry me. He threw the ball in that game like 38 times. Okay. Whatever in the hell it was. He only had 116 or 166 passing yards. Now I had 4 TDs. Okay. But James Franklin was asked this question a couple of weeks ago or 2 weeks ago. Did you see the James Franklin thing about the reporter asking about pushing the ball down the field? Like, did you see that?
Yeah. Oh no. He asked him, is there ever a point where you're going to
throw that bitch down there? It's basically
what he's saying. Throw it deep. And it was insane.
How stupid is that question? That might be the stupidest question I've ever heard.
Some kid who plays Madden. I don't know if that's a student reporter.
He's a seasoned reporter. He's got like 100,000 followers.
Yeah, but Buddy needs to cover basketball. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen. I don't know how you could cover football and think that that's any coach has ever instructed.
I get what he was trying to say. Basically, he was saying, "Hey, I get what he was.
You're doing it. You're giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt. I don't know if he knew what he was trying to say.
No, but James Franklin knew what he was trying to say, and James, James Franklin made that comment more or worse than the question actually was. James could have just said, guys, there's people getting open. He's progressing through the offense. Mm-hmm. Do we want him to take deep shots? Sure. If it's open.
Right. Not
James Franklin just completely pulled his pants down and took a dump on that question. He made it worse in national news more than it should have been. So,
I mean, as you should, if someone's trying to, but okay, we're not to spend too much time on this.
I do think, and here's another thing. I think Penn State defensively is a good team. I think Ohio State is obviously too. I just don't, speaking of James Franklin, I don't know if I can trust him. I trust Ryan Day more. I trust this team. I lean Ohio State because I trust their coaching staff more. If everything's even, okay, if everything is even, I do tend to lean the better coaching staff and quarterback. We talked about that last night. But something just is just telling me, Blake, don't take him. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what is telling me not to take him. Take Ohio State, maybe because and look, I could be because when teams drastically do something, Joe, meaning like look at Ohio State's offense last year. They were high flying. They almost beat Georgia, and now they're tough defense, run the ball down your throat, physical style of football. Maybe it's that on why I don't trust them as much. But, dude, they're smashing. They're Hulk smashing everybody in front of them. And I will say this. You won't agree. This team can be more dangerous than maybe a year ago in a totality. They are built right now to beat Michigan. Ohio State. Yeah. I don't think Ohio State was built to beat Michigan last year. We talked about that last year. No. I think they're more built to take on Michigan this year, personally.
I think that from listening to you talk, I think that you want to pick Penn State, but you're not ready to go there yet. It sounds like that you're picking Penn State, but you're not going to. On Wednesday, when we do our game picks, you're going to pick Penn State. That's my prediction.
I don't know that. I trust Ohio State more. But something's just telling
you want to pick Penn State. I
do.
That's the big one.
Here's the thing. I do want to pick Penn State because I think Allard could have a game on. We can have a game on our hands, and I think this could be his coming out party. I do think that kid can play. Like I really do think that the kid can play. Okay,
he just hasn't been set up to do so. And so somebody in the comments.
Well, and Joe, here's another thing too. We're 7 weeks into this. He hasn't had a high-profile game. There's a lot of people in the country that really don't even know who Penn State is right now. They know that they're undefeated. They know they hadn't played anybody. They've seen them once or twice. Maybe the Northwestern game that was on. It was close early, so people started tuning in. Then Allard to his credit, comes in and just starts kicking the dog shit out of everybody. He's out by the midway through the fourth quarter. I like the kid a lot. I like him more than I like McCord. I'm gonna just tell you that. McCord, dude, did you watch the game last week? McCord, he's feeling pressure and he's just like leaning back and launching it out there. And I'm like,
I mean, we saw that against Notre Dame. He does not handle pressure in his face.
He does not handle pressure well. And I'm going to tell you something. If there's one thing I know, Manny Diaz is going to send pressure at him all night long. And that is why it's more not so much the offense of Penn State that I'm just like, oh, they're the reason I'm held back on this. The reason that I'm leaning them is I think Manny Diaz is going to have some shit dialed up, and it's going to make McCord look silly. And Manny Diaz has been around the block, man. He's like a $3 hooker. He's been to all locations. You just got to pay him once.
I will say that if something does set up Penn State to win this football game, it's going to be a really big defensive performance. But I really solely focus on two guys on Penn State's defense. Chop Robinson is very under talked about. My guy is a freak. I have a couple clips of him that I have saved on my phone. I should have sent to you before the show, as I did last week. The guy can accelerate and burst out of cuts and spin moves and stuff. And I don't know a single guy on the offensive line that is going to keep him from getting home and getting a sack or even pressures.
Dangerous.
Very good pass rusher.
Yep.
And then Kalen King. What does Kalen King do? Does he completely eliminate whoever he's matched up with? I'm sure he's going to get some reps with Marvin Harrison, some with Ibuka. Does he completely take those guys out of the game? Kind of like what happened when Notre Dame's secondary, who Benjamin Morrison's good and Cam Hart's good, they're not as good as Kalen King. Kalen King is a freak.
And think about this, man. Think about this. And I think this is all over the place for Penn State to some degree. James Franklin has quietly recruited his ass off.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, he's got some good DBs. I think their safety play has been really good. Dude, here's another. Both of those safeties will come up in that box and light your ass up.
Yeah.
So defensively, it's not the stats. Fuck the stats. Okay. I know I know that I'm seeing these dudes light dudes up, and I get it's inferior opponents. How does that translate? So the ultimate question, and it's why you play the game, how does that translate against a pair of running backs at Ohio State that can run your ass flat over too? So we'll see what happens on Wednesday. That's all I'm going to say. Tennessee. You got more thoughts? You got any more?
Well, I had a really stupid one. Do you think that Ryan Day is going to go after Joe Paterno if he beats Penn State? I had to get that out.
Can I tell you the truth? And then we move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't give a damn how old Lou Holtz is. So I'm just gonna hold on. Okay. If Lou Holtz is old enough to go on a TV show, okay, Joe, we get criticized in the comments. Just because I'm because I'm younger, why do you attack me? Why do you attack me? I'm younger.
I don't know. I just think it's hilarious. I just think that Lou Holtz,
Lou Holtz, if he didn't want to have it, as one of my favorite rap lyrics of all time would say, if you don't want no shit, there won't be no shit. Don't start
Lou,
shit. Won't be no
Lou
shit.
doesn't care. Lou wants the smoke.
Well, and here's another thing too. Ryan Day took the shot at Lou Holtz. It was not directed at Lou Holtz. It was directed at everybody around him who had said that his teams lost to dudes like Georgia because they're soft, myself included.